guys, welcome to my kitchen and welcome to my home. I know it's been a while that I haven't posted a video, but I'm back now. It's the holiday season now. One of the holiday baking essentials is Christmas sugar cookies or sugar cookies. I'm going to show you how to make them today and stick around till the end of the video because I'm going to also show you how to decorate them. So let's go over the ingredients. To make the sugar cookies, you will need some sugar, some butter, an egg, some flour, baking powder, salt, and vanilla. Start by mixing the dry ingredients together. So to your flour, add the baking powder and the salt, mix them around and put them aside. And then into a large bowl, add the sugar and the butter and mix on high for about 5 minutes until the sugar dissolves into the butter. And I recommend that you use an electric mixer in this case because by hand it will be really difficult. Another important thing is that the butter must be at room temperature. Then add the egg and the vanilla and continue mixing until it's well incorporated. And once in a while, scrape down the sides of the bowl. And then add the flour in 2 batches. Mix until it's well incorporated, but then do not overmix. And you'll find that your dough will become kind of crumbly and dry. But don't worry, what I do at this point is that I start mixing it by hand. I knead it through till I get a hard but moist dough. And then I wrap the dough in plastic wrap and place it in the fridge for at least 2 hours until it gets really cold, or I just do this the night ahead. So the next day, when I'm ready to roll my dough, and take it out of the fridge and let it sit at room temperature for about 15 minutes until it kind of warms up, because otherwise it's really hard to roll. And then I place it between 2 pieces of parchment paper. I roll it with a rolling pin until I get a thickness of about half a centimeter or 1/4 of an inch. Now you can measure this with a ruler if you wish, but my trick to do this is that I get a plastic straw, I insert it in the center of the dough, and then I place the tip of my fingernail on the straw where it's touching the dough. I take it out and I examine it to see if it's the right thickness or if it needs more rolling. And now I'm ready to do the cutout. So I'm going to take my favorite cookie cutters and I'm going to cut my cookie dough into shapes. To make this a little bit easier, I dip my cookie cutters into some flour and that way they won't stick to the cookie cutter. Then, after I'm done, I collect all the scraps and I repeat till I get a teeny little piece of dough. Place them on a wire rack to cool completely. And now the fun part begins, which is decorating the cookies. So to decorate my cookies, I'm going to need some icing sugar or powdered sugar, a little bit of milk, some vanilla, but that's optional. I actually didn't use it today. And of course, food coloring. You can use gel, you can use liquid. I'm actually using both in this case because I'm going to use whatever I have. You need some piping bags. If you don't have that available, you can use a Ziploc baggie. And you need a sieve. That is very important. Powdered sugar tends to become a little bit lumpy, especially if it's been sitting in your pantry for a while. So you need to sift it before you make the icing. After you sifted your sugar, add the milk to it bit by bit. And mix it by hand with a wire whisk. If it's too dry, add a little bit more milk. Okay, now if your icing is too runny, like what happened to me in this case, then no problem. Just add a little bit more powdered sugar until you get the right consistency. So there, this is the consistency I'm looking for. And then because I'm using multiple colors, divide the icing into different bowls and add a little bit of food coloring. But a little goes a long way, so you don't want to add too much color at once. Start by adding 1 or 2 drops and mix it around and see if you need to add more. There are many ways to decorate your cookies. Dip my cookies in the icing and then place it on a wire rack to let the colors drip. And then using a toothpick, remove any air bubbles and clean up the excess icing around the edges of the cookie. Now this way, the dipping is definitely easier, but it's also a bit messier. Now I'm going to use mini M&Ms to decorate the Christmas tree cookies. So you want to add the M&Ms or any decoration while the icing is still wet. There, isn't that pretty? And when you're done, just leave the cookies to dry. The other technique is to pipe the icing on the cookie. In a piping bag with a thin tip, I'm going to put some icing and I'm going to decorate my cookie by first drawing an outline around the cookie. And that way I'm going to create like a dam and leave it to dry for a few minutes. And then continue piping the inside of this wall or dam, and using a toothpick, just fill in the gaps. And of course, leave it to dry. Now, if you're going to use more than one color on the same cookie, you have to wait until the first layer or the first color is completely dry before you ice the second color. If you don't do that, if the icing is still wet, then the colors are going to bleed into each other. So as you can see here, my blue icing is completely dry, and that way I can pipe the cookie with the white icing. How gorgeous. And here are the rest of my cookies. I cannot wait to eat these.